I want to talk about what y'all want me to talk about, right? We got to talk about Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma, USC. And that means we're going to have a little church here on this Tuesday night. I know in Oklahoma, we go to church on Wednesday. We go to church on Sunday. Some of us, we work at the church. Shout out to the Pearl House Gala and what they're doing right now. But stay with me on this, all right? Because get a snack pack, go get your beverage, calm down. We're going to talk through this. Moments after losing the Bedlam rivalry game for the first time in his career, Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley was asked to comment on the many rumors that he was set to become the next head coach at LSU. Riley stopped the inquiring reporter for even asking or finishing the question, right? And he said, let me stop you right there. I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. When the reporter tried to follow up, Riley interrupted him again and said, next question. Following Oklahoma's 37-33 defeat in debilitating fashion, losing Oklahoma State for the first time since 2014 and missing the Big 12 championship game for the first time since 2003 with the layoff, I, like other Sooner fans, took those words to mean, I'm not effing leaving. We heard those words like they were uttered by Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street when he assured his legion of fans that he would not forsake them. Of course, what Riley probably meant was, I don't like the scene in Independence Day in which President Thomas J. Whitmore assures a nice old man, Julius Levinson, that there is, in fact, no such thing as aliens, only to be contradicted by the Secretary of Defense, who dropped a legendarily understated, that's not entirely accurate. Like the Secretary of Defense, Riley didn't lie to us. He simply didn't tell us the whole truth. That's what we learned Sunday afternoon when USC sent shockwaves through college football by landing Riley as its new head coach. There's a lot to unpack with this seismic shift, so let's break down what it means for Oklahoma, USC, and the rest of the sport. So, what does this mean for Oklahoma? Grief, rage, chaos. Check this. Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma for USC off the strength of a Zoom call and a nap. It means Spencer Rattler won't be the last person to jump into the transfer portal, and he isn't. It means with his taking the job at USC, Lincoln Riley hasn't seen a single QB he signed in high school as a coordinator or head coach finish his career at Oklahoma. And none of those QBs he signed in high school have yet become first-round selections. It means, a source told me, Riley spoke with the team for no more than 2 minutes to inform them of his decision, and left before the team meeting was even over without saying why he was leaving. It means half the staff took a 6:30 a.m. flight to LA with no contract on a Monday morning, including defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, wide receiver coach Dennis Simmons, strength coach Benny Wiley, and director of football operations Clark Stroud. Stroud, heading to USC, hurts more than most think. Until July 1st, 2018, he'd been the dean of students at OU and VP of student affairs and has worked at OU for 2 decades, which is to say he has an institutional knowledge of the program and, more importantly, the university. When people ask who Oklahoma wants as its next head coach, I think it's a trick question. They wanted Lincoln Riley. That's why OU fans are so upset. Right up until he showed Sunday, he no longer wanted them. Riley was handpicked by former Oklahoma coach Bob Stoops to succeed him. And the offensive guru lived up to the standard Stoops set from the moment the hire was announced. It set a new bar for smooth transitions, a white glove service for the fan base, and everyone wanted to keep Riley. Stoops' decision to retire and hand the reins immediately to Riley was one of the greatest acts of his coaching career. The Sooners have been a model of sustained excellence for more than 20 years, the past 5 of which have come under Riley's watch. In 5 seasons, Riley posted a 55-10 record, won 4 Big 12 titles, and developed 2 number 1 overall draft picks in the NFL draft at quarterback. Those Baker Mayfield and, of course, Kyler Murray. He also made 3 appearances in the college football playoff as a head coach and failed to win a single semifinal game. With each passing semifinal loss, though, Oklahoma fans became impatient to win a playoff game in a sport that has become about making the CFP and winning the national title above all else. There's little solace in a 10-win season, a feat OU accomplished in 2021, even after the season ended with a loss. But rather than seeking to pick up a longer extension with more money, such as we saw this month for Penn State coach James Franklin, Michigan State coach Mel Tucker, and Wake Forest coach Dave Clawson, Riley threw in his lot with the Pac-12, a conference that hasn't played in the CFP in 5 seasons, and a Trojans program that has been mostly mired in mediocrity. The question is why? OU athletic director Joe Constiglione and the Sooners haven't participated in a coaching search this century. But the last time Constiglione did, he struck gold with Bob Stoops. Never mind that college football looks like a totally different sport now, or that Constiglione has worked with 3 university presidents and 2 head coaches during his 23-year run. However, no one has had more time to put together a list of potential Oklahoma head coaches. Off the rip, I would go Constiglione needs to first call Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables. We'll talk about it a little bit more later. And he not only is familiar with the program and has worked for Stoops as well as Dabo Swinney, but also has done nothing since leaving Oklahoma but win games, including against the Sooners and winning national championships. Oklahoma is in year 21 of its national title drought. Venables could put together an outstanding staff, knows the area, was raised in Salina, Kansas, played at Kansas State, and has successfully pulled the odd gem from the region, such as Isaiah Simmons, who is from Olathe, Kansas, and was lightly recruited, but developed into a destroyer of worlds at Clemson. Now, what does this mean for USC? In September, I wrote the next head coach at USC needed to be both Hollywood and hardworking. I wrote, quote, in a word, you've got to be talented, because if want to were all it took to get what you want, I'd be 6'6", 260 pounds, and walk around with a cape. You've got to be comfortable in a living room, a weight room, an entertainment executive boardroom. The job is as open and selective as becoming U.S. president. The Trojans read that column and said, bet, and landed Riley. Riley fits everyone's assessment of a home run hire and has proven that he can successfully recruit in the area. Former 5-star quarterback Spencer Rattler hails from Arizona, and he earned a commitment almost overnight from Malachi Nelson, who was once committed to Oklahoma, is now committed to USC. Riley is also going to be charismatic, charming, and quick with a joke and a smile in a town full of stars and entertainment execs. A city very high on its own sense of self and a place in the world. His way is that of an aw-shucks kid from Muleshoe, Texas, with an IQ and memory fit for NASA. Bear in mind, Riley has lived in Muleshoe, Lubbock, Greenville, North Carolina, and Norman, Oklahoma. What I'm saying is, one of those is not like the others. How quickly he can turn USC around is my only question. If it takes longer than USC athletic director Mike Bone thinks it should, will he hold the line to give Riley not only the resources he needs, but also the time? In this age, folks get fired for sneezing in the wrong direction, along with 6 games in the loss column. USC believes It should win national titles with regularity. That's not unlike the place Riley just left, which begs the question again, why go? So what does this mean for college football? Perhaps Riley thought it was just time to leave. Woke up, took a nap, talked about it for 2 hours, said, I'm going to go. It was time to leave the place where he was the 5th highest paid coach in the sport, making nearly $7.7 million a year. It was time to leave the place where he helped engineer a move from the Big 12 to the Southeastern Conference while posturing like he wanted the challenge of facing Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, Mike Leach, and the class of college football week in and week out. No disrespect to Auburn, but if they can make it work, OU should be able to make it work too. I love football because it was a place to prove you could stand up and win your respect, whether you won the game or not. My career is built on that foundational principle. You might win, but you're going to bleed to do it. Oklahoma isn't the place for you to be if you don't believe the same. After all, there's only one Oklahoma. It was time to leave, though. Leave the place where he has had a steady road to championships, has consistently recruited well, and has been a model of sustained success in the sport. It was time to leave the place where the college football team is the pro team for a place with 2 NFL teams, 2 NBA teams, 2 MLB teams, 2 NHL teams, and 2 MLS teams, and perhaps the most fair weather fans in the sport. It was time to leave the place that was ready to build a 5th statue of a head coach alongside Benny Owen, Bud Wilkinson, Barry Switzer, and Bob Stoops next to Heisman Park and memorialize him for all time. It was time for Riley to turn his back on all of that. Nothing is forever. Nothing is sacred. College football is a business full of businessmen standing on the sideline trying to get ahead of an axe that falls on most. If this can happen at Oklahoma, to Oklahoma, it can happen anywhere. It can happen to your school too. This next part, though, is for Oklahoma fans, Oklahomans, really, so bear with me. In this book I'm writing about the Tulsa Race Massacre, I'm in the throes of it, almost done. I spent a lot of time revising about my home, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The 6 years I lived in Norman, the bus rides to and from Stillwater in pursuit of my own self-respect. And in this land, nations of people alongside the diaspora were banished to and made habitable, profitable home by pulling from the ground what no one else had and finding enterprise where others found red dirt. And in this work, I'm drawing out what it means for me to call Oklahoma home at a time when my friends, my family, our best and our brightest leave us for a place that's better and brighter. And then we have to defend ourselves all over again from tornadoes and tornadoes of criticism and floods of our own feelings for being left here again at home in a place Zebulon Pike once called the American Sahara and discarded and treated as if we ain't no thing. And what we did, we should accept. We should expect when you were just saying, hey, lighten up. You're only Oklahoma. People leave. And then they ask us to be less invested in the place that raised us, that created us, that has been a cauldron for clashes and creativity and smash mouth, wishbone, pass happy football, where the Dust Bowl laid waste, the Murrah memory looms. We've rebuilt, remade, even as we stumble in our way home. And beg respect because football, we're so good at it that we must be good at it. It's our birthright and on our driver's license for all to see, and we feel so like fighting for a place that once no one cared to notice until we made them notice with 47 straight Heismans, national championships, and a 33-year-old wonderkin with ambition. And now we must do it all over again. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 ranked show YouTube channel.